Cleveland Browns have won 4 out of their last 5
all
games.
Of my bobbleheads are officially throwback. This one's for you.
This is a big one for me.
It is time once again to answer that question. Will the Browns win their season opener? Don't give me your answers right now, but once again, the Browns are kicking off this Sunday against the Ravens, traveling to Baltimore. No fans in Baltimore. There will be some fans in Cleveland when we get to that, and we'll talk about that in a little bit here. But Drew, let's start with you this week. Big game against the Ravens, NFL season opener. I know you weren't too excited last week about the Browns' chances at the Super Bowl, but what do you think about the Browns against the Ravens?
Yeah, I mean, it's not my goal to come on here and be, Mr. Negativity, but the Ravens have a better squad. They do. I mean, I don't think there's any real debate there. Can the Browns beat them? Obviously, yes. They beat them with a child coaching the staff last year without any semblance of a real game plan, and they went into Baltimore with sold out, M&T Bank Stadium and just absolutely stuck it to them. So do they have the personnel to win this game? Without question, yes. Do I think that happens? I do not. I think that this is going to be a difficult matchup for the team in terms of what the Ravens do well. It's always been a point of weakness, although for the Browns that being stopping the run. I am excited that they'll have a healthy defensive line. More on that to potentially to come from me, but I am very concerned about the linebackers and the secondary on this team. This was even before the Grant Delpit injury. This is before Greedy Williams, when he won't be able to play probably because he's super fragile, made of glass, and I really worry about the back of this defense. And I have some worries on the offensive end, not on the personnel, not on the coaching, not on the scheme, but just on the lack of playing together, right? So, I think this offense is going to be very good come the middle to end of this season, but there's going to be growing pains. And unfortunately, this year, those growing pains are going to have to be entirely in the regular season, which is really unfortunate. Because I think this team really could have had something if they could have had a full training camp with some preseason, some scrimmages against other teams, some time to get right. I think this offense could have been something very special that could have led this team, into the playoffs and who knows what else after that. Not saying they can't make the playoffs, but I think they're going to really struggle with this particular matchup. I know Eric was heartbroken when J.K. Dobbins became the latest and greatest Baltimore Raven. And that's just one more piece, right? They had, on the wrong side of 30, Mark Ingram. They rejuvenated his career. He's always been a pretty good player, but he's not the level of what I think J.K. Dobbins is right now. Mark Ingram at age 32 or 33 versus J.K. Dobbins, right? So I think this is going to be a difficult matchup, and I do not think they break the first game curse. We will be born into the darkness again of 0-1. It's where we know, it's what we know best. But I do think this year that something good will come of that. So I think this year starts off the same way every other year starts off for us, unfortunately.
Eric, are you afraid of Lamar Jackson? Do the Ravens have a pure quarterback leading that team now?
I don't know. I mean, ever since he came on in this league, I never really had complete faith, and I just keep hearing how great he is, how great he is, how great he is, how great he is. I'm still not afraid of him. I mean, he's a very, very good quarterback. I'm not going to take that away from him, but he's not like a Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. I know when after the game kicks off, it's over. So
sorry, I got the dog pound going here.
Yeah, for real.
Having said that, I mean, he can hurt us. Obviously, he's shown that ability. But I think if the Browns can somehow do three particular things, they're very difficult, but they do these three things all together, they have a chance to win. One of them is forced turnovers. The game last year at Baltimore and the most recent game of the Ravens where they lost to the Titans, they turned the ball over 3 times. Obviously, like I said, it's easier said than done. Getting 2 interceptions and maybe a fumble recovery would be excellent for this defense, but we can't rely on them punting. We got to get the ball back. We got to channel our 2018 inner Greg Williams and go for that football. Don't be reckless about it, but that's one way that can help. Control the clock. Obviously, this is going to be the Ravens' game plan, so it's kind of who can do it first. And I'm hoping with these two thoroughbreds. I'm channeling my Kentucky Derby puns as it just ended last weekend. These two thoroughbreds we have at tailback, we should be able to have that 1-2 punch, and perhaps we can get a lead, hopefully a double-digit lead, and kind of just sit on the ball and have 6-7 minute drives. Again, tall order, but that's one way that they can be defeated. And third is kind of the situation that we're in, and the Browns have to take advantage. There's not going to be fans there. It's going to be quieter. Obviously, it's still a difficult place to play because of the team that's playing on the field, but it's still not going to be as hostile. And then most importantly, there's little to very, very little, I don't want to say no, but very little pressure on the Browns. The Ravens are Super Bowl contenders. They made the playoffs, or they've won the division the last 2 years, and they're 8-point favorites in this game. You go down to any publication, you're seeing the Ravens deep in the playoff run. You're seeing Ravens win this game by most prognosticators. So if the Browns take that with have that bulletin board material, they play loose and play confident, hey, what do you know? Hopefully they can, steal one, I guess, or, outplay, catch the Ravens by surprise. So I'm not going to give you my pick yet, but lot's going to have to go right for the Browns to keep it close and hopefully steal a win late.
And in other news out of Browns training camp leading into the season, they made some decisions to get down to the 53-man roster. Couple different roster moves that are going on. Our first question here is going to be, where are you most comfortable? What is the top positional strength on the roster? And what is the position that you are most worried about? Eric, let's go back to you again. Where do you think the Browns are the strongest?
I got 3 rooms, all on offense. Running back room, as we had already discussed. I'll be quick, Drew, so I probably steal all of your answers. I know that, I can tell by that look you're giving
Eric
me.
Son, you're here.
11 rooms. No. You got Hunt and you got Chubb. You just got Hunt extended a 2-year contract after this year. So that's not going to decrease his demand, desire, motivation to play well. And I hope that it gives Nick Chubb incentive to keep playing well, that he can be extended. Who knows what kind of a contract he would be getting. I would assume it'd be longer than 2 years. But nonetheless, right now, at face value, just looking at 2020 alone, there's 2 great running backs. Chubb, you would assume would be more the ground guy, and Hunt would be more the pass guy, but they're interchangeable, and you have seen good plays, vice versa. Chubb with the catch and Hunt with the run. So I really like that room. Tight ends, obviously you got Hooper. Yeah, Bryant's coming along. He's the rookie, but he's flashed, and he's number 2 in the depth chart already, and that's not an easy thing to do for a rookie, especially during a pandemic. So I really like what he has to offer, and can't wait to see some 2 tight end sets, something we did not see hardly at all last year. And then Njoku's the wild card. I don't have high hopes for him, but he's still a large guy who can catch the ball from time to time. So 3 tight end sets, maybe they're putting their last salvageable defender on him that, Njoku can make him look foolish and make big plays. And last but not least, for the strengths would be quarterbacks. You got Baker Mayfield. I trust him. He had a down year last year. I'm not going to harp on it. We're moving on. We got good coaching, and Case Keenum is one of the better capable backups in the league. So, I feel pretty comfortable about that. Quickly, I'll shift over to the weaknesses. Drew already touched on them, but I'm sure you'll touch on them again because I think we're both right, is the linebacker and the safety position on defense. B.J. Goodson's been out from time to time for personal reasons, and I think he might be coming back, but he is a veteran, but he's, like I said, missed time. We have the Mack Wilson injury. That leaves Malcolm Smith, who played good and was Super Bowl MVP 8 years ago. So there's that. Tay Davis, Sione Takitaki, they're either unproven or haven't proved something in quite some time. So that leaves a big question mark. A linebacker, safety, Carl Joseph, Anderson Sendejo. I like them both, but I don't like them as an every down safety. I like them in a niche role for where they're at. And fortunately, I think the Browns are going to ask more from them than just a part-time starter. So Sendejo's a little long in the tooth, and Joseph's just kind of gets hurt. So I like to think both of them can play 16 games at a reasonable level, but again, asking a lot. So that leaves the Ronnie Harrison and Sheldrick Redwine. Harrison just got acquired by the team, so I don't have too high of expectations immediately. I mean, hopefully he can grow into a serviceable guy in a couple weeks. Redwine, he played okay from time to time. He's a middle-round draft pick entering his second season. So, again, there's a lot of question marks in both positions. I would not call that a strength, so therefore those are my weaknesses.
Drew, where do you think Eric's wrong?
Okay, yeah. So I mean, it's wrong of him to take half the squad and leave me with nothing. Let's start there. He asked for 1, you gave him 7. So I think almost objectively, I think tight end is needs to be in this conversation just simply because they have 3. I would say at worst above average NFL tight ends on the roster right now, and there's really nobody. There's not any, to the best of my knowledge, any other organization that can make that claim, right? Austin Hooper, Harrison Bryant, David Njoku, if any one of these guys were to be cut for whatever reasons, for some reason, every team in the NFL would put in a waiver claim for them, every single one. They would have 31 waiver claims. And that is something that I don't think many other teams, if any, can say. So, but we already touched on that. So I'm going to throw sort of a different, not plan, but a different piece at this. I'm actually going to say defensive line is a very deep position that starts with a superstar, a player of the year candidate, which I don't know that we can say about any other position there. So obviously Myles Garrett, I think he's the only sort of player of the year, whether that be offensive or defensive, true candidate that you can say, for this particular team. And I think that he is very much in that running. And you couple that with people that are healthy finally, Sheldon Richardson, Larry Ogunjobi, Olivier Vernon. That is a very strong defensive front. They also have some depth there as well, though. They have a bona fide NFL-capable backup in Adrian Claiborne. This is a guy that can still play, that can still rush the passer, and it's a luxury to be able to rotate that, rotate him in to give these guys a breather. And I really wish they had Andrew Billings. He opted out due to COVID concerns, so that's unfortunate. But I really like their third-round draft pick out of Missouri, Jordan Elliott. I think he gives a quickness. I think he gives the ability to penetrate and get upfield, which is something that that I think the team really needs. And I think he's going to see some time in some situational sub packages, and I think he can be a really good backup in his first year. So, those are the 6 players there, the 4 starters, 2 backups. I think it's a really strong unit. I also think the Browns are going to put sort of almost a case study, the test of if you have a good defensive line, you have a good defense, because the rest of the defense is not. I think a lot's been said to a certain extent about the linebackers. Some people have called them the worst unit in the NFL. I don't know that that's fair, but they're not great, and that was before their best linebacker got hurt. So I have my doubts. I think Jordan Phillips is going to be a pretty good player, but I don't know that for certain. And, I am extremely concerned about the linebackers' ability to cover anybody. I really think they're going to miss Joe Schobert. And the other part that Eric mentioned, the safeties, I actually really like this Ronnie Harrison acquisition they made. They traded a 5th-round pick. I believe Ronnie Harrison will eventually start for this team. I don't know if that happens right away, but I do have a little anecdotal story for my optimism. He comes out of Alabama. I think it's his 3rd or 4th year in the league. He came in the same year, same class as Minkah Fitzpatrick. And everybody assumed that Minkah Fitzpatrick was sort of the leader of that defense, but he wasn't. It was actually Ronnie Harrison that Nick Saban entrusted to handle all the communication, call all of the audibles, call all of the hurry up sort of plays, get everybody positioned correctly. They sort of the quote is, I saw this on Twitter, that Nick Saban spoke to Harrison on a different level than any other player. So he's extremely intelligent, and I think he has enough skills to really play back there. So I was very encouraged by this deal to go out and get a bona fide starter at the safety position, and I have some high hopes for Ronnie Harrison this year for the Browns.
Yeah, I was impressed as well from his interview with the Browns media, talking about how his Alabama days and being a part of that winning culture. And he gets to share that with Mack Wilson, a former Alabama player as well. Eric, what are your thoughts on the Ronnie Harrison? Do you think the 5th-round pick, are you going to miss that at all? It seems like it could help in the secondary.
I'll miss it.
No, I thought that was a very good trade. I mean, you're not going to be getting another Grant Delpit at this time of year, but hey, he has the talent. He was not in a great situation, much like half of or 3/4 of the Jacksonville Jaguars that were jumping ship or wanted out. But Andrew Berry saw what the team needed, and he improved that position. So, like I said, it might take a little bit for him to get acclimated, but he's a young guy. He's got talent, and he was drafted in the 3rd round, and he's played decently well to very good, I guess you could say, for the last 2 years, and they only gave up a 5th round. They actually went down in compensation. So, you can't hate that. I mean, Mack Wilson was the 5th-round pick, so there are good 5th-rounders out there, but that's usually the exception, not the rule. So is Richard Sherman, if you want a better example for a 5th-round pick. But nonetheless, I think they still had their 5th-round pick from this year, as well as they traded Austin Corbett for that 5th round, which in turn was traded for Ronnie Harrison. So it's basically, what did I just say? Corbett for Ronnie Harrison. So, I mean, I'd rather roll my dice with him than with the guy we just got rid of, who's now playing with the Rams. So, it's a good move, and I can't wait to see what he brings to the table. He seems fiery, energetic, and he's a winner. He's, like you said, he's the captain of the secondary, or at least he was in college, and I like to see how that translates with this situation with the Browns.
Yeah, I like the pickup as well. And going back to your point, Drew, it's one, it is going to be important for the secondary to have some healthy players. But also that the front four and Myles Garrett, you forget about the trajectory he was on for those first couple of games before he bashed Mason Rudolph.
Before he politely put the helmet back on Mason Rudolph.
He was disrupting every single offense, I believe, to start the season. The defense was playing great, and he was a one-man disruption to every single offense. And I hope we see that again. I hope he stays on the field. And if you remember those first couple of games and now extend that over the course of an entire season, it could be a good guess on MVP, might be Myles Garrett.
Quick story about that. They had to list Myles Garrett with an injury during some of their scrimmages against each other, so that they could have a functional offense. There's some red flags there, because you hope Jedrick Wills could block him, but he has been just an absolute just wrecking crew on the Browns offense thus far in training camp, from everything I've heard. So, he has come back in the best shape of even his career, which is really saying something, because he is just, he is a freak of nature. So I am very excited to have number 95 back, and I'm hoping that he can single-handedly will this defense to become a unit, a better unit than I think they're capable of.
So switching gears a bit, college football started off this weekend. I caught a little bit of the, I think it was Marshall and Eastern Kentucky game. And to my surprise, I didn't know this was going to be going on, but there was quite a few fans in the stands at that game. Not sure how exactly they were policing that or what was going on there, but this is going to be a thing in the NFL, that some teams will have fans in the stands. And there was news that came out that the Browns, for most home games, will have 1,500 fans, but I believe the logic is they will have 6,000 fans for teams that are a little bit closer in proximity to Cleveland. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But so there will be some fans in the stands. They'll keep people in pods and have some sort of social distancing. So with all of those restrictions or safeguards to the experience, I don't know, Eric, would you bring your whole family to a game? Do you think it'd be safe? Do you think it would be as fun of an experience? I know it won't be just like a regular Browns game with a packed house, at least in the beginning of the season. But what do you think? Would you bring the family?
Would it be safe? Probably, but would I do it? No, not in 2020. A couple of reasons. It's not going to be cheap. It's you're slicing the total capacity in a fraction. You probably have to wear a mask all game, which I work and go in the office sometime, wear a mask for multiple hours. I don't really want to stand in a football stadium and wear a mask for 3 hours plus. And 3, with the small kids, their attention spans aren't doing 3 hours consecutively at this point in time. If this were a pandemic in 2030 or 2028, yeah, I would maybe consider it. Again, the money being the most challenging. I went on StubHub a couple of days ago just to look for Browns tickets, and the only 2 options were both the road games. One was the Cowboys. I know they're kind of an outlier. They're expensive to begin with, but the cheapest tickets I saw were just below $900. And the suites, I wanted to see the most expensive ones. The suites were going for $30,000 a ticket. So obviously it would be cheaper than that. I'm sure it's a couple hundred a ticket though for Browns games inside the stadium. So maybe one of these years. But if I was a single guy and I was the Browns were in that capability where, hey, I think they're going to win the Super Bowl this year. Hey, maybe I would consider going, but I think I'm going to hold off on 2020.
I don't know, Drew. I was thinking that it just might be a little bit more fan friendly, keeping everyone spaced out. Mm-hmm. There's going to be more people watching the fans. I don't know if it'll be quite the party that a Browns game is, and maybe that opens it up for bringing some younger fans along. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd certainly go. My situation is a little different this year. I have a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and one last and final version mini me on the way, and that one is due at the beginning of November. So, it's kind of difficult for me to do anything before that, and then I can't bring the whole family afterwards. But if you're asking, would I go to a game? Maybe like would I bring a friend or like a cousin or somebody like that? Would I go to a game after the kid is born? Absolutely, I would. Yes, without question. Especially when it's cold, I don't mind wearing a mask, right? It'll keep me warm then. So, yeah, I would. I would, and I'm thinking about doing so. I'm going to see what tickets look like, which is going to be a big question come December. Is probably when I'll take a look at it. So, it is something that I would like to do. I try to go to a game every year. I don't want this to be the exception to that rule. So. Yeah, hopefully the team is competitive. Hopefully they're still very much alive in the playoff picture come December. And yeah, I think I will probably head up to a game. It'll be me and maybe my dad, maybe my cousin, maybe a friend or something. I'm not going to take the whole family out there, but it is something that I would like to do and something that I would feel safe doing. Yes.
Yeah, I'd follow you guys. I'd probably just take my oldest. I could see it really liking having more space around because kids just will not sit in their seats.
Right.
So I might like that, and it might work a little bit better. Been to some like really cold baseball games, and it's helpful to be able to run around and eat like 4 hot dog buns before we actually sit down for a total of 15 minutes. But yeah, maybe I'd try it out. We'd see here.
Yeah, but, baseball games I love bringing the kids to. Football games I have a hard sort of double-digit policy. You got to be 10 years old to go to a football game. You got to have some understanding of what's happening. Got to be able to sit there. It's too expensive to bring people that are just gonna run around and not pay any attention to it. So baseball, I love it. Football, I got a double-digit rule that I'm going to stick to.
Yeah, I know I mentioned previously on earlier podcast, but my first Browns game, I was 7. It was in the old stadium. There was a lot of F-bombs going on. There were a lot of beers being chugged, and there's a whole lot of sights I had not seen previously. Took my kids to the Indians game 2 years ago? Last year, I don't remember. And it's a little different atmosphere. So yeah, I'm definitely steadfast that might be a little wiser to take them if they're a little older. So.
Well, there will be a full slate of games that we can watch this weekend from the comfort of our homes here, and there might be some bets that are laid depending on which state you're in the betting laws where you're at. Of course, fantasy sports too. But let's start it off again. We need to return to Mr. Moneybags. Drew Swalla needs to inform us prior to the start, but we won't start with Drew. Let's start with Eric here. Ooh. Eric, I need 3 picks. I need the Thursday night. I need the Browns total, or the Browns outcome, as well as your lock of the week.
Okay. I really should have looked at the over-unders, but I'm not going to do that because it's week 1 and we're going to just roll that way. Just a reminder, I am 1-0 after the Army Cadets went 142-0 last week. All right, that being said, we will take the Kansas City Chiefs, lay those 9 over Houston. This could be a close one, but I think it's not going to be. So let's go Chiefs. My lock of the week will be the Philadelphia Jeff Eagles over the Washington. Sorry, I had to throw a crummy nickname in there some point. Over the Washington football team.
You just wanted to say Washington football team, didn't you?
Yes. Not my previous nickname that had to do with food. And last but not least, we have the Browns and the Ravens. I will take the Baltimore Ravens -8.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. I'm going to go with Texans. That is a huge spread. Texans, Deshaun Watson just signing the new contract. They're going to be ready to play. The Chiefs going to be distracted. My lock of the weekend, I'm going to go against Tom Brady. The Saints -3.5 at home. I think the Saints have the unit together. They have the team that has been around longer. Bucks. Maybe they start to pick it up mid-season. But I'm going to go with Drew Brees and the Saints. And then the Browns are going to at least cover against the Ravens. A lot of points, +8. In my heart, I will certainly hope that the Browns win. But all that doesn't matter. Drew, what's going to really happen?
This is what's going to happen. So on Thursday night, you're going to see some of what you saw with the XFL in that these teams have not had a chance to play in the offseason with one another. I understand this is the Kansas City Chiefs. This is the best offense in the league. I understand this is the Houston Texans Deshaun Watson MVP candidate. But the number is 54.5, and I think that's a lot of points. And, I think you're going to see a lot of NFL games trend under to start. You're going like when an offense and a defense are both sort of not prepared and rusty. The advantage, we've seen this all time after time, the advantage is with the defense. Defense you can play sort of rusty if you play with high emotion. If you play aggressively, you can still be good on offense. That is about timing. That is about consistency. That is about being on the same 11 guys all being on the exact same page to outsmart the defense. And I think you even with Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes, I think you are going to see even them struggle at first. So I hate picking under Kansas City Chiefs games. I probably won't ever do it again, but I am going to go that route, and I'm going to continue that same theme with our Cleveland Browns. The number there is 48.5. That is 7 touchdowns that the Browns and Ravens have to combine, and the Browns have to make the extra point every time. I don't have issues with Justin Tucker; he's not going to miss. But I don't think they get to 49 points. I think that number is too high. That's actually the 3rd or 4th highest total over under for Week 1. I think it is way too many. So I'm going to go ahead and take the under there. And for my lock of the week, I'm going to take those heroes of the postseason, the Tennessee Titans, the people that ended the Evo Empire and then sent Lamar and the boys home packing. That started as a pick'em game against Denver, which I loved. Then Von Miller got hurt, and it has moved. I last saw it at -1.5. It might be -2. It might be -2.5. I'm going to take it all of those numbers. What I saw was -2, and I think that you can absolutely take that. I think the Tennessee Titans get it done. They're playing in Denver, but again, that's not going to be the same Mile High Stadium with the crowd and the incomplete and all that stuff that gets to people. So. I like Tennessee a lot in that game to do what they did to the Browns Week 1 of last year.
I'm excited. NFL's back. We'll be back next week.
Absolutely.
We'll be talking about how the Browns break their season opener losing streak. We got it next week. We'll talk to you guys soon.
See you then.
All right, talk to you later.